Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Guys at Magic. This is Hunter, Steven, Shane, and David. Say what's up, boys.
Hello.
Hello.
What's up, boys?
We're back. This time we're doing our Commander Grades video, where we break down and see what legendary creatures from the latest set, this one being Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, and if we think they're going to be good commanders or not. So, this video, we're going to be talking just about the monocolored legendaries. To start us off, we'll talk about the white ones. And the first card we're talking about is Ao, the Dawn Sky. Ao is 3 and 2 white for a 5/4 legendary creature, Dragon Spirit. It has flying and vigilance. It states, whenever Ao, the Dawn Sky dies, choose one. You can either look at the top 7 cards of your library, put any number of non-land permanent cards with total mana value 4 or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order, or you can put 2+1/+1 counters on each permanent you control that's a creature or vehicle. David, what is this?
I think I'm probably going to be the most positive one about this. At minimum, this is 5 mana for a 5/4 with flying and vigilance, which means it's going to be a threat. It's still going to be up for blocks. Your opponent's probably not going to want to attack into you because this thing does have a pretty decent death ability. And in the case that it does die or you manage to kill it for whatever reason, it still does things. Also, on top of that, you can use certain combos and synergies such as Nim's Death Mantle to be able to really take advantage of this card. And to add on to that, whenever I was looking up common removal spells, of the top 10 most common removal spells, 5 of them do actually still destroy. They're not exile effects, so they'll still end up hitting this thing and triggering its ability. Plus, its abilities are super powerful. The first one being able to dig its 7 cards. If you are playing any kind of high synergy or combo deck, that could potentially just throw the combo pieces you need into play. And its second ability allows you to end up going wide with putting those 2+1/+1 counters on each permanent you control that's either a creature or a vehicle. So it busts up your team. I actually really like this card. I think that this entire cycle is probably the best thing in Kamigawa.
Shane, what do you think about this card?
Sounds the same as what David said, dude.
You agree that this card is really good?
All right. It's what you want the commander to do because your commander... Normally you care when your commander dies. Like, oh, I'm pissed. But you don't give a fuck. So you can play your cool commander. We can block, you can do whatever, attack, you can do whatever you want. And then when it does die, you can just shit out all your little 1 mana or 4 mana or whatever the hell you want. So, it's essentially what you like to do, Hunter. I can see this being a white humans deck.
Yeah, but I disagree because there's a lot of setup you have to do, what David said. You have to set up a way to make mana, and you have to set up Nim's Death Mantle, and you have to get out your commander, correct? To do an infinite loop?
I don't give a fuck. I'm not talking about infinite. I'm talking about good old tribal.
To abuse it, yeah, but I mean, even the base value, if you're not abusing, I think this card is still really solid.
Yeah, I'm not talking about CDH. I'm talking about just a decent deck. You just pump it full of tons of humans that then would go and make other counters, like maybe the other humans that are in standard currently that make counters and gain life. That's all you would do. No combo.
Steven, what do you think?
It's really awkward because I had a lower grade than David on this, but after hearing David, I kind of want to bring it up to a C instead of a D, at least for me. But I still think 5 mana, good upside, but you needed to die. And then 7 mana, commander tax. 9 mana, commander tax. 11. I like the card. I think the upside's cool. The vigilance and flying are great. I'm just not a big fan of how expensive this gets for the upside.
I'm on the same page as you there, Steven. I don't like how you think about commander tax for a second. It goes 5, 7, 9, 11, keeps going. It's going to get too expensive to keep dying. And if I'm the opponent, I see the death trigger. Why would I want to kill that right now?
And then you're just going to get beat in the face for 5.
I mean, granted, though, what I will say is, obviously, you don't have to send this to the command zone. You can just send it back to your hand or to the graveyard, reanimate it, do the loop like David was saying. But I'm just saying, just based off of just straight commander and not it being on a, I'm trying to think of the word, not it being a straightforward deck, bringing it back like that. I think it's a C.
I
Well-
think Shane brought up a really good point before we move on from this one too, is that like this is still a 5/4 with flying and vigilance. Like this is going to hurt you. And if you attack this player, like they're just gonna block with this creature, probably trade, and then they're gonna activate the death trigger on that, so you don't even need to do anything crazy with it.
I just still think it's.
Facts.
I don't know. Like Steven mentions the reanimation thing. It's a lot harder to do if you don't have Nin's Death Mantle just based on mono white. Like I understand this is a cycle, and we'll get to the black one, and that's most likely getting easier reanimated spells. But I don't know, man. If we're going on to our grades, let's go to our grades right now. Then, I personally am giving this a D. I'm sticking to it. David,
I
what? Or
had this
Steven,
at
go
a
ahead.
D. Yeah, I can talk. I gave this a D originally, but kind of going off of what David said, I do feel like this could be like a little bit of a stronger C, especially with what Shane was saying. I mean, 5 mana, 5/4, flying vigilance is still really good.
I agree, and I'm gonna go with the C on this as well. I don't think that this is like super push by any means, but I definitely don't think this is a bad card.
Shane?
Yeah, I wasn't arguing for this to be like an A or B or anything. It's still gonna be a C, but I just don't think like again, I wouldn't be disappointed if I'm building and playing this deck with you guys.
Well, the average is a C for Ao the Dawn Sky. Next up, we have Go-Shintai of the Shared Purpose. Go-Shintai of the Shared Purpose is 3 and a white for a 1/3 legendary enchantment creature shrine. It has vigilance. It states at the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1. If you do, create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token for each shrine you control. Okay, I'll start this one off. This is not strong at all. It is a reason it's uncommon. This would fit in a shrine deck, but as a commander being legendary, at most, there's only 2 mono white shrines. So you do the
Really need to
math.
like elaborate on this. I feel like we don't need to elaborate on this card very much.
This is an F.
This is not a commander.
I want
we
to love
all-
this.
You want to love this, Steven? Why?
I want to love this. I really want to build a shrine deck. I I don't know why. Something came into my mind the other day, and it was just like build a shrine deck, and I think it'd be really cool. This would not be my commander. We'll get into that in a later video, but I want to like this. But 4 mana just to create a 1/1, and you have to pay 1. No bueno.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can make a command. You can make a shrine deck, dude, but it'll be 5 color, not 1.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, quick grades. I think we could just go on with this. I'm at a F.
Ditto.
I'm at a worse than F. It's just not a commander.
I'm gonna give this an
Steven?
A plus.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Maybe
That
an A
average
hard.
is
I'm gonna give this
that
an F.
average is an F.
Yeah.
Moving on, we have Light-Paws, Emperor's Voice. Light-Paws, Emperor's Voice is 1 and a white for a 2/2 legendary creature, Fox Advisor. It states, whenever an aura enters the battlefield under your control, if you cast it, you may search your library for an aura card with mana value less than or equal to that aura, and with a different name than each aura you control. Put that card onto the battlefield attached to Light-Paws, Emperor's Voice, then shuffle. I think it's pretty cool because being a commander, you're going to have every single card in your deck a different name. So it's not hard to find that.
Putting the pants on, dude.
Putting the pants on, that's right. David loves it. He wants to attach everything to this card, right, Dave?
I feel like you're setting me up here so much. I don't love this card, but same as earlier, like this is not a bad card. It's cool Fox. I want to hear a little bit about Steven's input on this, and then maybe I'll chime in a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, great Voltron commander. I think this is great. At the start, it's a 2 mana 2/2, which means it's cheap to get onto the field early on, and you basically get to auto search and put an aura on it almost immediately. So I see the downside. I also see some massive upside. Hunter mentioned to me earlier before the video that there are 240 white auras. which I think is just insane. So, I mean, I think building a commander deck around this wouldn't be very hard at all.
240 is quite a bit to pick through.
I think that this card is actually probably better than what I originally had it at a grade as. So I don't know. I really like the fact that it can protect itself pretty much immediately, just because, I mean, this is going to come down so quick. And then the following turn, you're going to throw an aura targeting this, put the pants on it, and then that's going to trigger its ability to go grab another aura. I mean, you're probably just going to immediately want to give this thing indestructible, and then just start playing around from there, and you're going to have this massive behemoth that your opponents are going to deal with. My only downside being is that this is still an Aura Matters commander, so if your opponents do manage to deal with this, you're shit out of luck, and all of those auras are going to the grave.
Yeah, that's my one. Like, I've always wanted to do a Voltron deck, but for me to concentrate on one creature rather than building a board state, I just can't. I can't do it.
Well, it's a very fragile game to play.
Very. A great lyricist named Riff Raff once said, "Tiptoeing in my Jordans." And I think you're going to be tiptoeing quite a lot.
Tiptoeing quite a lot.
That was a long
It's
build.
beautifully put. You don't have
payoff.
to continue. It's fine.
Okay.
I'm crying happy tears.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our grades. Shane, what do we got?
Probably just give it a C just because of how fragile it could be. I get that you could protect it. I'm sure the things that are going to give it, like not shroud, but you can protect it. But I don't like how fragile it could be.
I'm giving it a C as well. I think it's pretty average and mono white auras. That's cool.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and I'm giving this a B just because it is very fragile, and I think that is probably the only reason why I didn't give it an A.
All right.
I'm going to be a little bit more lenient with this one. I originally had it listed as a C. I am going to bump this one to a B. I think it just barely makes the cut because whenever this thing does like start really moving and grooving, of which I think it can do pretty quickly, it's really powerful. But the second this thing dies, you're screwed.
2 C's and 2 B's. I think we give the trade to the higher grade. We are giving this a B for the average grade. Next up, we have Myojin of Blooming Dawn. Myojin of Blooming Dawn is 5 and 3 white mana for a 4/6 legendary creature spirit. It states it enters the battlefield with an indestructible counter on it if you cast it from your hand. Then remove an indestructible counter from Myojin of Blooming Dawn. Create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token for each permanent you control. This absolutely shoots itself in the foot by not being great enough because you have to cast it from your hand.
Yeah, is this even a commander bit to talk about again?
Yeah. For 8 mana, you can get a 4/6.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything.
I mean, but
Unless your opponent is an idiot and bounces it to your hand, or you bounce it to your own hand, I guess.
Bounce it to your own hand so you can cast it again for another 8.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say next, but it's up to you.
Yeah, let's just all quickly say the grade for this card.
Out of curiosity, if you put like a robe of stars on this, right? It doesn't like re-enter the battlefield, so it gets an indestructible counter, right?
It wouldn't come back from your hand.
That's just phasing.
That's true.
You have to cast it from your hand.
Yeah, the wording on this is atrocious.
Without further ado, I think we could just say the average grade for this. All of us are the same. FFF.
Yep.
Right? FFFF. This is a average of an F. This is not a commander.
F minus.
F minus. Moving on, this is Norika Yamizaki the Poet. Norika Yamizaki the Poet is 2 and a white for a 3/2 legendary creature human samurai. It has vigilance. It states whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, you may cast target enchantment card from your graveyard this turn. David, start us off.
For 3 mana, I get a 3/2 with vigilance, which I guess is okay-ish. It's probably going to die to my opponent's 2-drop. But if I attack with just 1 warrior or samurai, I get to probably not do anything. This is not good.
Probably not do anything, yeah.
You don't like warrior samurai enchantment tribal? Mono white, I mean?
Not this rendition of it, no.
Steven, what do you think?
Oh boy. You know, I for mono white, I don't think this would be a fun card to play. Currently, there's only 38 samurai cards in Magic the Gathering until this set comes out. I'm sure there'll be a lot of fun U samurais that come into play. I don't know how many of those will be mono white. But just going off of what we have currently, I mean, this is pretty bad. Slow, weak, narrow, all words David used, and I completely agree with them.
I mean, it does check Warrior, too, to give it the benefit of the doubt there. It is not just 38 cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. 38 for just samurais, but
So a shit ton of warriors. However, I did say it is, like you guys are saying, it's too specific.
I also don't like the fact that it has to attack alone.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Hey man, let it attack alone. Shane, what do you think?
I think that if anyone's going to make this work, it's going to be you.
Me?
Yeah, mister. I love humans and I love white cards.
I mean, this isn't that. It's a human samurai, but it's samurai warrior tribal.
I'm just saying. It's a deck you'd make for some reason.
It isn't a deck I'm going to make. And with that, I'm moving on to the grades. I'm giving it a D. Too specific.
Shane?
F. I don't like the card, period.
Gasp. Yeah, I'm a D.
I'm a solid D.
Oh, them D boys.
That is an average of a D. Last white card of the set. This is Yoshimaru, Ever Faithful. Yoshimaru, Ever Faithful is 1 white mana for a 1/1 legendary creature dog. States whenever another legendary permanent enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Yoshimaru, Ever Faithful. And it has partner, meaning you can have 2 commanders if both have partner. Steven, what do you think?
So, I think this was made for a meme. I think somebody at Wizards of the Coast has got a lot of money in Doge, and they're really and they're trying to up money value. I don't think this card is bad. I just think that this was made as a joke. I think that it'll be kind of funny to put in some decks. I just think it'll be more of like a jank build than it will be like a serious build. On that note, I will give it a D for Doge.
D for Doge. Well, we're not moving on to the grades quite yet,
I
but
can't even think of anything but the grade.
Shane, what do you think about it?
I don't really know. Like, what would you partner with this? I don't know. I don't really know any of their cards that have partner, period, but this is a cool card. I feel like it could do something.
That's what I
Right?
said. I said
Yeah.
pair it with another color. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter what color, really.
Oh,
Make
you're
this
right.
a
You're right.
counters matter deck. And then go from there. Because every time you're casting either that other commander or just another legendary that you have in the deck, you're putting a 1/1 counter on it.
Your Doge is getting bigger.
So I'm going to argue against exactly what you just said of just like throw this up with another partner commander, because I mean, the other partner commanders, one of the wonderful things about them is the fact that they can have a buddy.
Mm-hmm.
So like, why would I want to lock myself down to a single color whenever a lot of the partner commanders are 2 colors? So I could be playing 2 different color pairings. So give me a total of 4 colors versus 2 and then this. And then like I looked it up past that point. There are no partner commanders that really care about being recast or that care about putting counters on another creature. Like I don't see any synergies with this and any of the other partner commanders.
But it's a good boy.
It is a good boy. It's a bad card.
That's not
David,
nice.
is Norin a legendary?
It doesn't have partner.
No, I'm asking you a question.
Yes.
Okay, so let's say you partner this card with a red commander. Throw Norin in this deck, then you have quite the amount of counters going on this card, isn't it?
Okay, so even in the case that I do something like that, you're making me jump through hoops to go find basically like a tertiary commander at that point, because my deck turns on whenever I find the third piece. And after doing all of that work, I've managed to make this some big dumb beater that doesn't have any kind of evasive abilities to actually be able to push the damage through.
But it's
You
a good
love
boy.
big dumb beaters, dude.
I don't. This is a card that it can be a 1 million, 1 million, and at the end of the day, it still gets jumped block to a 0/1.
Put equipment on it.
Wow. Just got wrecked, Hunter.
Give it
Jesus
trample.
Christ.
Give it flying.
It needs some of those abilities already on the card in order for me to like really start to care.
Build around it, David. It can't just be just the card.
You can say that about every single card we've talked about so far today. Build around it.
That is true,
Yeah.
actually.
I mean,
Isn't that what
except
you
for the-
do in Commander?
except for-
Question mark.
Except for the Fs. You can't really build around those.
Well, you know what?
Speaking
Plot
of grades, let's talk about the grades. I am personally giving it a C because I think you can pair it with something pretty cool.
It's an F. It's still another F. This is a 1-mana 1/1 that sometimes will be a 1-mana 2/2. And even in the case that this thing grows, I'm going to forget it's even on the battlefield.
Why would you put your commanders on the battlefield? That's weird.
No. I'm not going to play this card. I'm going to run into some poor guy who put this together because he had a dog tribal deck or something like that and thought that this card was cool.
Ben, what are you giving it?
Giving it a G for good boy.
What are you really giving it?
I'm giving it a fucking D for Doge.
Oh, that reminds me of Steven also giving that D for Doge, right,
Well,
Steven?
I'm the only one here that's got Doge, dude. Fuck.
First of all, I got weak hands, so I sold. But I will give this a D for Doge.
Well, that average is going to be a D. Moving on to the blue. Next up, we have the first blue card of the set, Go-Shintai of Lost Wisdom. Go-Shintai of Lost Wisdom is 1 under blue for a 0/4 legendary enchantment creature, Shrine. It's got flying. It says at the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1. When you do, target player mills X cards, where X is the number of shrines you control. Steven, tell us why you didn't give this a bad grade.
Well, for anyone that heard my introduction on the first video, I love Mill more than I could possibly say. I don't know why I'm such a terrible person on the inside of my heart. But, you know, this card I feel like could be like a B for me. But 2 mana, 0/4, flying, decent blocker early on. At the beginning of my end step, I can pay 1, and then when I do target player mills X, that's where I gave this card a C. I'm not a big fan of the each, I'm sorry, not the each. I'm sorry, I'm not a big fan of the target. If this card said each on it, oh my god, I'd be throwing it in a deck immediately.
Yeah, that's what you said, though. You're throwing it in a deck, meaning
Yes.
paying 1 to make one person mill 1 card is not good, Steven.
In
No.
a deck of 99.
Well, I mean, if I'm not going to throw this one shrine into a deck just to make one person mill 1 card. I'd put some other shrines in there, but I feel like, as these videos come out, I'm going to slowly build up to the point that I'm trying to make once we get to the multicolor commander. But until then,
Sure.
I feel like everyone's going to kind of laugh a little bit because I love these shrines.
Well, I will tell you that we're going to just move on to the grades because I think the other 3 of us are on board with this being terrible.
Hunter,
So-
Shane, just build
terrible.
around it.
I mean-
That's very different,
Shut
okay?
the fuck up.
So just for the people at home, before we give these grades, I just want to give you guys a little insight on Guys at Magic. Do these little like Google Sheets, and everyone puts in like notes for the cards that we kind of go over. Hunter, 6 words. Shane didn't even write anything. David, this feels uncommon. And I was the only one that talked about this a little bit more than I probably should have.
Yeah, it's an F, Steven. This
It's
is
a
not
C.
good. No,
This is
it's
an F.
not.
It's so
You're not-
bad.
You're not
Steven-
bringing this average up. It is an FFF.
I give
Steven,
it
you're
an A.
going to learn, Steven.
If-
Milling is a terrible strategy in EDH.
If somebody brings this deck, I think I'm going to let them win just because they have such massive balls for bringing this deck.
And I'm not going to agree with that, Shane. I think milling is actually a pretty fun way to do this because actually in the Will Help deck that I built, thanks
Yeah.
to the help of David here, I actually milled somebody for their entire library.
Were you playing a 1v1 game?
No, but then I had a bunch of zombies after.
Either way,
There's-
it's a terrible strat, dude.
There's ways to make mill work. It's just you have to make it go real big.
Yes, agreed.
We're totally gonna get shit on for this next card. Hunter, go ahead and lead into it.
This next card is Jin-Gitaxias, Progress Tyrant. Jin-Gitaxias Progress Tyrant is 5 and 2 blue for a 5/5 legendary creature, Phyrexian Praetor. It states, whenever you cast an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. This ability triggers only once each turn. And whenever an opponent casts an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, counter that spell. This ability triggers only once each turn. Now, the fun part about this is it doesn't say once for your turn. It's each turn.
This is never gonna resolve. Like, this is such a massive hate generator that somebody's gonna look over and just count and say, okay, well, the turn that my opponent has 7 mana, I guess I'll just save my counterspell for that.
That's why you wait for extra mana before
you have
cast this.
9.
Yeah. Of which at that point, like, you're basically playing with a 9 mana commander. The game has ended.
Well, it will end when this card resolves.
I don't think it does. Even after this card resolves, like in 1v1, this thing is absolutely a nightmare. I don't know how you lose in 1v1. But you drop this in the game in Commander, it's suddenly 1v3. All 3 of your opponents want this thing to die.
I mean, I agree with David 100%. I mean, if you want to play this, you better guarantee this bad boy hits the field.
Well, I love this card. I really do. I love it a lot.
But
Going into the grades, I'm giving it a D.
damn.
I love how you led into that almost as if it was like, hey, it's not you, it's me. I've changed.
It's definitely me.
I've changed. What are you giving this grade, Shane?
I feel like if I could protect it, it's a B. But if I can't protect it, it's definitely not a B. So I'm gonna give it a C.
Giving it a C. David?
It's a D. This thing is never going to resolve, and in the miracle of a chance that you do get it to, there's 3 kill spells coming at it immediately.
What do we got, Steven?
You know what? I think it's going to be kind of funny to say this. I originally gave this a C, but I'm actually going to give it a B.
A B.
Yeah, I think, and going off of what you guys were joking about earlier, I think you can build around it for the protection.
Wait, just build around it, forehead? Got it.
Just build around it. That's what we're going for. So that average is actually going to be a C. Jin-Gitaxias. C. Next up, we have Kairi, the Swirling Sky. Kairi, the Swirling Sky is 4 and 2 blue for a 6/6 legendary creature dragon spirit. It's got flying in Ward 3. It states, when Kairi, the Swirling Sky dies, choose 1. You can either choose to return any number of target non-land permanents with total mana value 6 or less to their owner's hands, or mill 6 cards, then return up to 2 instant and or sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand. David, I know you love this cycle, so let's start with you.
This is probably my favorite card in the entire set. I'm going to go ahead and lead with that. I don't think it's the best card in the entire set, but I definitely think it's my favorite. So this is a big body that does a pretty good job of protecting itself. Ward 3 is very real. And my thing with this is blue has a lot of copy abilities. You can have a lot of like clones come in where you're not really caring about whether or not this thing is going to die. You have the clone come in, it's going to make a copy of this, legend rule itself, and immediately trigger one of those death abilities. So the first ability, if your opponent's playing any tokens, all of those tokens are gone. You're probably bouncing something relevant since you can hit up to 6 mana value. And then the second ability on this one, if you're playing mono blue, you're probably playing some form of instant or sorcery deck, of which is wonderful too, because yeah, the mill 6, it's not very deep, but you get to grab 2 instant or sorcery cards that you've already cast, throw them back into your hand. That's your counterspell that you just grabbed and threw back in, as well as something else that you're going to maybe mess around with your opponent. And my initial thought on this one too was, I want to cast Rite of Replication on this. If I cast Rite of Replication on this, I see 5 copies of this come in, immediately die, which then gives me mill 30 and return 10 instant or sorcery cards from my graveyard back to my hand, or return 30 mana value worth of permanents back to my opponent's hands, or even just blink or just to bounce some of my stuff to be able to abuse ETB effects. I think this card is nuts.
Okay.
I love how Steven changes his grade.
I was hoping nobody would see it.
Shane, what do you think?
So I was gonna say that I'm sad to say this card isn't gonna do it for me. The only thing that is saving this card, the only thing, is what David brought up, that you can legend rule it, because otherwise this has the exact same problem that the white card had, where you need it to die. So if in fact you do not legend rule this card is not it. You need to make copies of this card, or it is not it. I feel like that's what the deck will do entirely, and that's it. That's
So
what I
you're
think.
saying build around it?
I'm saying build around it, forehead. But yeah, no. So because I wasn't even thinking about the legend rule. So I'm just like, okay, cool. Like that's whatever. You're not gonna think this is not gonna be a thing. The deck you build here is going to 100% be the deck that I kind of already have, where you're like caring about tokens, and then you're gonna kicker this, and you're gonna make 9 copies of this, and then that's like the only way this deck survives.
Yeah, I wasn't really thinking about the legend rule either. If I'm honest with you, I completely glazed over it. But like, I think even without the legend rule, I'm a really big fan of like 6 mana, 6/6 flying, and the ward 3 is just so damn strong. I feel like. But I mean, originally I had said, I think a lot of these dragon spirits that are coming into it, all the monocolored ones, I kind of feel like most of them should go in a 99 and not the commander. But after hearing David speak about this a little bit more, I really do feel like this is pretty solid as a commander.
I feel like I'm pipering this shit. You're all just going to follow me now.
Nah.
Well, you should stop going first then.
I'm not following anybody. I think this is swirling straight into the ground because it's not good.
I love the fact that you're sticking to your guns, but you know in your heart of hearts that you're wrong now, because this could be 100% a real deck. Like this is like a B or A status.
No way you heard David say what he said, and you're like, oh god.
Well, no, I get that he wants to stick to his guns, and I appreciate that.
I'll tell you what.
There's no way this rolls into the ground.
Let's talk about the grades then, shall we?
Okay.
We'll see if I stick to my guns or not.
Oh,
David, what are you giving it?
I'm gonna give this a B. I don't like the other dragon. I don't think it's fantastic. I actually do think this one is better, but I'm gonna stick with a B on this one.
I will give this a B. Originally, I had given this a D. I'm not gonna lie, but after thinking about the upside this can give you with just the legend rule alone, it's kind of nutty.
Shane.
Me. So I'm already like literally envisioning a deck. Like I was just thinking about it. Like you're gonna sit back, you're gonna do exactly what I want to do. You're gonna fucking build walls, and you're gonna have counters for days, and then when you want to do things, you're gonna make copies of your commander. Like this could be an all-star for me, all because of David said one word, legend. So I'm gonna give this an A.
Guess you could say it's
legendary.
Well, I'll tell you what. This is a C. I raised it a little bit, but dude, I just don't. It's.
You don't like what winning?
I know it, man. You got to set up a lot to get to it. I get it, but I don't know. Mono blue. I like mono black better because you can reanimate more.
See, you keep saying that you got to set up. I feel like these are big, heavy-hitting creatures with upside when they get dealt with.
Yeah. So where are you putting this? Only back in the graveyard?
No, I'm putting it back in the command zone.
I mean, you're hoping it doesn't die more than once, but then in that case, any expensive commander has the same problem.
Bingo.
I mean, all commanders have that problem. Eventually, you'll probably reach a point where it's too much.
I mean, I never play Edgar Markov.
Well, you know what? This averages a B. I think we can get through this next card pretty quickly. This is Myojin of Cryptic Dreams. Myojin of Cryptic Dreams is 5 and 3 blue for a 3/3 legendary creature spirit. It says Myojin of Cryptic Dreams enters the battlefield with an indestructible counter on it if you cast it from your hand. Also, remove an indestructible counter from it to copy target permanent spell you control 3 times. And with that, it is not a commander because you have to cast from your hand for 8 once again. So quickly, F. Yeah?
Do we
F, F,
do we
F,
have to
F,
keep
F.
talking about these?
I don't know
F,
why
F,
we're even
F,
talking
F,
about these.
I vote we just say, and here's the Myojin of the next color. It's an F because they all are not good. They don't work.
Yep,
We
they
can say
don't
though
work.
that this is a nuts ability, but it doesn't work.
It is a nuts ability. Copying a spell 3 times, no joke. But F, average, go, F. Next up, this is the Reality Chip. The Reality Chip is 1 and a blue for a 0/4. Legendary artifact creature, Equipment Jellyfish. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. It also says as long as the Reality Chip is attached to a creature, you may play lands and cast spells from the top of your library. It's got a reconfigure cost of 2 and a blue. I think this is awesome.
I want to love this card so bad.
Why don't you?
Why don't I?
Yeah, you said you
Because
want to.
it's just not. I don't feel like it's commander. Like it would be in my 99.
Can I shed a little bit of light on this one real quick? Just a
You
little bit of math.
Sure, you can.
2 mana to cast, 3 mana to reconfigure, a minimum of 1 mana, I'm assuming, to be able to get another creature out. I guess technically you could be playing Ornithopters, but let's be real, you're not in EDH 900% of the time. 6 mana of an investment before this card literally does anything. You can look at the top card of your library and like you're going to be super stoked whenever you get the card, I guess, the interaction that you needed, or I guess you can try and poker face it whenever you flip it and you're like, shit, this is my next top deck land.
Just build around it, dude.
you need 2 creatures in play for this to do its thing.
Yeah, I feel like I'm the only one that liked this card.
Hey, I liked it too. You don't have
I
to
see
show the
what
top
you're
card of your
right.
library. You can just look at it. Continue your hand going that way. If you have a different card that lets you scry, it's basically scrying, but
Yeah, you're
minus
constantly
the
trying.
minus the part where you can throw it to the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, I think this card will be good early on to get some value in the game. Get some mana off. Maybe you can play the top card. I mean, like the only reason why I don't like this card is because it is, like David said, you have to spend a lot to get the extra upside of it. But I just think that this won't be a strong commander. But could it work? Yes, I do think it can.
I think you can combo off with something.
I know what to do.
I could see this potentially in Storm. Shane, what did you figure out?
I figured it out. I'm gonna I'm gonna paint a picture for you.
Okay.
Jellyfish tribal.
All right, he broke it.
He fixed it. That's it, man. Jellyfish, you got it. Congratulations, Shane. You have successfully figured out the way to play this card. So let's start with you. What grade are you giving it?
D.
D.
That's it. That's all I got for you.
Well, I'm also giving it a D.
But you said you liked it.
I do. I love this card.
Not you. The other
Oh.
one.
Oh yeah, I do. I do like it. Doesn't mean I can't give it a D. I like it enough not to give it an F.
Well, I'm
What do you?
gonna give it a C.
And
job, dude.
David.
Well, I just had a little bit of an epiphany.
There it is. I
Oh
was
god,
waiting
here we
for
go.
it.
So
All
like,
right, I'm on board again.
all right, so there's a lot of things that you could be doing with blue for just casting a lot of instants and sorceries. I can see how you could potentially storm off with this, especially if you're running like a lot of really cheap artifacts, and especially if like that is where your mana is coming from. If you're running a super low land count deck, like sub 20 lands, then you might be able to pull something off with this, to where you're just like chaining card after card after card after card after card. I still think that this has a very high like fizzle potential though, and I feel like that is a very specific deck that could probably just be done with a different commander better. So I'm still gonna give it a D, but I do want to at least acknowledge that before somebody roasts me in the comments and is like, "This is my new favorite Storm commander," or Artifact to go crazy shit.
Dude,
Yeah, I guess you could say that's just the reality of it.
Oh, that
I really thought we were
average.
I thought we were gonna do something crazy out of David again, dude.
That average is a D. But before we move on, I just want to mention, Shane, with you and your jellyfish tribal, you can use 9 other legal blue jellyfish.
Dude, Necromoeba, is that a jellyfish?
It sounds like it should be.
It's like a spirit.
Necromoeba.
Is it a spirit jellyfish? I don't know. Hey, can we pause real quick? I gotta pee.
Sure.
I say we keep that.
Next up, we're moving on to the black cards. The first one, Go-Shintai of Hidden Cruelty. This is 3 and a black for a 2/2 legendary enchantment creature shrine. It's got Death Touch at the beginning of your end step. You may pay 1. When you do, destroy target creature with toughness X or less, where X is the number of shrines you control, so just 1. This is awful. Let's move on. We're giving it
Steven
all
loves
an
it.
F.
Well,
We're all
no.
giving this an
Oh.
F.
So hold on.
Okay.
Hear me out.
Okay.
I'm giving this an F, but
Yes. Okay. Let's move on.
Whoa. You cutting him off?
F, 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 F. This average, believe it or not, F. Next up is Junji, the Midnight Sky. Junji, the Midnight Sky is 3 and 2 black for a 5/5 legendary creature dragon spirit. It has flying and menace. It states when Junji, the Midnight Sky dies, choose 1. You can either have each opponent discard 2 cards and lose 2 life, or put target non-dragon creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. You lose 2 life. I think because this is another dragon spirit, we have to start with David.
no, we will
Oh, because
not.
then he's gonna dictate what's going on.
I'm gonna get my goddamn point across first.
Okay, get your point across, Steven.
David starts to talk. I know I'm gonna change my grade. So I'll say this again. I'm a big fan of these Dragon Spirit cards. I think 5 mana for a 5/5 flying with menace is great. But I'm still not a big fan of the fact that these cards have to die in order for the upside to come in. Now, with that being said, David changed my mind.
I agree with you, Steven. Before we get to David, I hate that these need to die for it to actually do something. I just do. I mean, the things that it does when they die, fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but it has to die.
Yeah, Hunter, but remember, we're gonna be building around things in these decks.
All right, teach me, Senpai Dave.
This is easily the most abusable out of the entire cycle.
Here it comes.
So being in black, there are ways that you can just outright reanimate this. So my thought on this one is that like you can use the like Mikaeus combos. So Mikaeus will reanimate this for you with a +1/+1 counter on it. There are other ways in Magic for you to get rid of that or to get rid of that +1/+1 counter, or just like negate it with a -1/-1 counter. So I feel like this is a card that you can reanimate if you do the setup correctly for it for free. Black is also probably the best whenever it comes to reanimation, just in general. There are a lot of cards out there that reanimate. There are a lot of cards out there that do it for cheap. This is also, once again, just like the rest of this cycle, abusable with Ashnod's Altar and Nim Deathmantle. So there are tons of ways to just make this go infinite immediately, of which this one has a kill condition stapled onto it with its first ability. Each opponent discards 2 cards and loses 2 life. Well, if I have you repeat that 300 times, you no longer have a hand, and you're sure as hell dead. So
Big number, Dave.
that is just like the first ability on this, which I think is really powerful. The second ability on this, I can reanimate something else, so long as it's not a dragon with this ability. So I can go ahead and just maybe go for like a Razakath finisher on this one, where I'm reanimating some big demons that are just going to come over there and start taking over the game. This card is nuts.
Yeah, I was gonna say all that, Hunter. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I don't like doing combo decks, Dave. I'm gonna give it the tip of my hat that says, or that to acknowledge that this is gonna be really cool. But I just don't want to do that. So
I'll give it to
Yeah,
you.
David, I don't like winning the game. So, like,
shut the fuck up.
He doesn't like combo. He doesn't like that play strategy, of which that is totally valid. I do think that even if you're not doing a combo with this, like realistically speaking, how often are your opponents going to want to block this? Because number one, it has menace. So they're going to have to double block. And with flying on top of that, it's twice as evasive. Plus, whenever this thing does die, they're discarding 2 cards out of their hand. Yeah, it hits them for 2, but the 2, unless you're actually like really abusing it, probably not going to do much. But those 2 cards,
It's important.
and that's each opponent. That's a lot of discard.
I'm just gonna say one word that might shut it down a little bit, dude. But like, exile is a thing, and so that's gonna suck because there is tons of exile removal.
5 of the top 10 most played removal spells will still destroy this.
Well, I'll make sure not to play those then, David, against you.
Seems like a good strategy.
I'll build my deck around it.
Shane, what are you giving this grade?
Grade wise, just like I said, I acknowledge that it's a good card and blah 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 blah. I'm giving it a C.
I'm also giving it a C.
I originally was
Yeah.
going to give this card a D. But I will now be giving this card a C.
I'm proud of you for not going all balls to the wall.
Yeah, I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Do I think this card is a B? Maybe on the low end. I just don't think commander wise this card is going to be that great. Like the upside's really cool, and I think comboing off is really nice. But it's like you said, Shane. There's a lot of exile effects out there, and if you just exile or counter one of the combo pieces, I mean, it's just like sucks to suck.
Sucks to suck, dude.
That's not to say that David's wrong though in any way.
David, what are you giving it?
I'm going to give it a B. I'm going to give it the same thing that I gave it the blue one. I think this is a really another solid option that just like on the surface is a good card and is exploitable. It's a B.
Ooh,
Well-
I'm gonna get shit on her. I'm sorry.
This average is a C.
I just realized that I praised the blue one, and that's the whatever. Damn it.
That's still a C. Moving on, we have another Myojin. This one, I'm sure you can guess what we're going to grade it, but I'll just say the card for the video's sake. This is Myojin of Grim Betrayal. It costs 5 and 3 black for a 5/2 legendary creature spirit. It enters the battlefield with an indestructible counter on it if you cast it from your hand. Remove an indestructible counter from it and put onto the battlefield under your control all creature cards and all graveyards that were put there from anywhere this turn. It's F.
I'm
Yeah,
actually
I'm
I'm actually thinking that you can build her on this, dude.
Casting it from your hand. It's an
Oh, I
F.
forgot, dude. Fuck.
It's an F.
Our
It's an 8 mana
average.
5/2.
Our
I'm
average is an
kidding, Steven.
F. Average is an F.
It's an F.
And our final black card is Nashi Moon Sage's Scion. Nashi Moon Sage's Scion is 1 and 2 black for a 3/2 legendary creature rat ninja. It has ninjutsu of 3 and a black. And whenever Nashi Moon Sage's Scion deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of each player's library. Until end of turn, you may play one of those cards. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana value rather than paying its mana cost. This card is so cool. But ninjutsu only works from your hand. You cannot do it out of the command zone. So it can't be a good commander.
Rip.
Its first ability doesn't work. Its second ability is still very alive.
Yes, that's what I mean.
I feel like this card's only good for its first ability, though. The sneaky ability.
Sneaky ability is real to get that surprise damage through. This is a lot harder to accomplish when your opponent sees the attack coming.
Yeah, David, the thing you say is telegraphed?
It is. This 100% is telegraphed. I'm not arguing that this is a good card. I'm just simply saying it still does have a text box.
That's true.
You're right. It does have words.
It has words. God damn it, Other.
Steven, what do you think about this card?
I'm not a fan. I think there are so many cool ninjutsu cards, but this is not it.
Steven, you don't like
That
its
ain't it.
words?
No, it's a lot to read just to realize I don't want to ever play it.
Facts.
I
And
will.
that's what. Go ahead, David.
I will give it the benefit of the doubt too. So a lot of these cards I shit on if you've been watching this channel, I hate these random effects because like you flip over the top card of their library, and typically you don't know if you're going to have the mana to be able to actually cast whatever you're going to flip, so there's a high probability of whiffing. You pay life instead of the mana cost for this card. So I actually like that a lot more because the chances of you whiffing basically go down to, well, did you flip a land?
Don't get me wrong, David. This card and anything besides EDH, probably pretty decent.
I think it's very decent. No, I wouldn't say pretty. It's a pretty good card, not EDH. But we are talking about EDH and specifically as a commander, and that is why I'm giving it a D.
Yeah, I agree. It's a D. It's probably not going to work.
Let's all give it some Ds.
I'll give it an F, but
Ooh.
it does stuff, so I'll give it a D.
It's got words, so you know.
Yeah.
Fucker.
We're all giving it that D. So the
Wow.
average here is a D. And with that, that wraps up part 1 of our monocolored legendary creature review from the Kamigawa Neon Dynasty set.
You're right
we
there.
will see you guys in the next video where we break down the red and the green monocolored as well. Hit that like button if you like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Follow us on our Instagram and Twitter. That is @GuysThatMagic. Until the next video, we will all see you in the next one. Peace.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.